are Smith Hanley Associates pharmaceutical practice. We focus a lot in biotechnology and a lot of different types of companies across the life sciences ecosystem. So today we have different recruiters from different sectors within Smith Hanley, and we're all going to discuss collectively some trends that we saw in 2024, and then maybe some predictions that we have in 2025. But it's definitely important that everyone kind of walks through very briefly just your name and maybe the particular practice area you're a part of.
Sure. So I'm Eda. I'm with Smith Hanley, of course, doing commercial analytics in the pharma space.
Perfect. Eda's also our principal for the
Been here for
pharmaceutical
25 years. 25 years.
Yes. I'm Lindsay, and I focus in research and insights, which is inclusive of primary and secondary research, like competitive intelligence as well, as market access insights.
How's it going?
I'm Nancy. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
How's it going? This is Nihar, and I'm the clinical R&D recruiter, and I've been with Smith Hanley and Associates since 2013.
Awesome. Nance?
I'm Nancy. I am a pharmaceutical recruiter for sales and marketing, and I've been here 10 years.
Beautiful. I guess we've all been here 10 plus years at this point, all four of us.
Crazy, right?
That is really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start just by, if anybody wants to start, maybe Nihar, you want to start? What's a trend that you saw in 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. 2024 was definitely a tough year in the biopharma industry.
Yeah.
We were seeing layoffs across the board. Hiring was in a slump, and overall, biotech industry is just interest rate sensitive due to challenges in financing projects and lengthy timelines and hurdles to success. So employment was pretty flat, and we're hoping in 2025 the sluggishness ends and there's a pickup in activity.
Yeah, that's a theme. I guess maybe we shouldn't have started out with the most negative thing possible. No jobs, less jobs in 2024. Are we hopeful for more jobs in 2025?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah. I was going to think of some more like generalized trends that I saw in 2024 too, is like going back to the office. Is that something you saw on the other areas too?
Yeah, well, I've also seen too that if the company was hiring, they were being extremely selective, and they had every candidate had to have 100% was on the job description. There was no flexibility at all, and the candidates didn't want to go back to the office, so that was a problem that we were faced with as well.
Right. So we're saying like less jobs equals more candidates and more particular hiring managers. Did you see that on the R&D side too, Nihar?
Yeah, absolutely. Just overall, there was fewer job postings and far more competition. So as a result, the job response rate rose significantly because there was a lot more people competing for fewer opportunities.
Yeah.
And I saw in sales too, just, with interest rates being so high and money expensive to borrow, that a lot of these companies started to halt clinical trials. And with that said, the sales force that they thought that they predicted that they were going to need, they didn't need, so
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of, just with all the mergers and acquisitions, just not as much headcount and definitely more caution when hiring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we saw
absolutely.
that
With
too.
M&A in 2024, it was definitely a down year. 2023, there was a lot of M&A activity, so 2024 was more tepid there, and there just weren't that many deals, and valuations were pretty frothy. So hopefully in 2025, the M&A picks up and there's more activity in terms of acquisitions.
We did notice in the research space too, I'm thinking like we had, I guess, a severe cut in terms of spend on primary and secondary research. But Eda, I feel like you did okay. Like you had good analytics-based positions. Like there's still consistent hiring for the analytics-based positions and just not the research-based positions, or no? Because I know our people work together.
Yeah, our people do work together, but it was kind of a combination between the consulting organizations as well as the manufacturer. So it was a combination of folks. That was a little bit more in the beginning part of the year. It was definitely a lot slower the last quarter. Everyone was just waiting for what was going to happen, with the election, and everything just really came to a halt.
Yeah.
I did have success, but nothing like it had been. And I've also compared it to when we had the dot-com bust many years back. The slowness was very similar to that.
Okay. And what was the update? How long did it take to get out of that?
About a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay.
But we started this really back in 2023. We started seeing the slowdown in the fall of 2023. So we've been in it for about a year and a half.
Okay, so we're coming. Yeah.
We're hopefully coming out of it. I sure hope so.
Okay. Okay, we don't need to harp on that any
No.
longer. But I guess we can move on. There were some other things we want to discuss. I mean, anything that we can say candidates can expect in 2025, obviously before like more jobs, what else?
There might be some flexibility with some of the requirements, knowing that they've already gone through being very selective, and now they're looking for that right candidate. So they might be a little bit more flexible on identifying the right candidate.
And I've
Because
seen
there's more
candidates
opportunity.
be, sorry to interrupt,
No.
a little bit more reasonable too in what their expectations are for compensation, salary. I think, last year or the year before, it was definitely a candidate market. And I think now it's changed to an employer market
Oh,
for
sure.
sure. Yeah. And I'm seeing, like, in particular, let's say for oncology sales, the reps were kind of hoping to get base salaries in the 200,000s or close to that. And some are even getting above that. But what I'm
Okay.
seeing now is that the price point has really leveled out. So you're looking at, salaries maybe in the 170s, and folks are now saying, hey, I'm willing to take that job now knowing I may not be able to get what I was making, especially if they're on the market. So I do feel like it's very similar almost to the housing market, where it's certainly leveled out.
Like so much salary inflation the last few years, and now we're leveling back out to, okay. We're seeing
I
similar
think
thing.
candidates have also come down to reality as well. Those candidates that are looking, they understand, they were, hoping for the stars, and, and now they realize that if they want to make a move, and they're making a move for reason. Before it was just let's test the market. There's no
Right.
testing the market anymore.
No one's doing that anymore.
No one's testing.
Or right now, anyway.
Right. For
With
sure.
that said, there's still a skills shortage. So I think, candidates in our industry, they're always going to be in demand, just because we typically look for a specific skill set, whether it's a master's or a PhD or a specific scientific or therapeutic area expertise. So, I think the candidates that we're looking for, they're always going to be in demand. So,
And that's a major difference, I guess, a nuance between clinical and commercial.
Well, I mean, my people still require, certain responsibilities, certain experiences for sure. They want subject matter expert people for all the time. They don't want someone who's, let me dabble in it now. They want subject matter expert people.
But I'm assuming in Nihar's area, it's like they need a specific certification or a specific degree in order to be qualified.
Well,
Right,
and
for a
commercial
job.
analytics too, they need that. They need
Okay.
they need that kind of information as well, that kind of skill set. But I mean, most of all, they need that subject matter expert no matter where they are.
I'm
I
seeing a
also-
little bit more flexibility in sales for, my clients used to be really particular with therapeutic areas, and, wanting the candidate to have the exact therapeutic area down to the mutation, right?
For sure.
And now they're just a lot more, it's actually a great thing. I think they're looking at the people they're hiring and want to pick the person that they know is going to stick, the person that they know is going to do a great job. And maybe they need to, ramp up a little bit on that specific therapeutic area, but they bring everything else to the table. So I'm seeing my clients just picking not just someone that fits the suit, but someone that I think is really going to fit into the culture, which is
that's
a
good.
fantastic thing.
That is. I mean, now on therapy areas, Was there a boom in anything particular in 2024 and a projection for new or booming therapy areas in 2025?
Well, I
Majority of
think
their
oncology
trials,
is always the top of the line. Oncology is always it.
Oh, yeah, that's on my list too, for sure. And I've heard about new cancer vaccines too. Well, we'll see what happens with that, I guess. I don't have, that's it.
yeah,
So
there's other,
oncology was one. Go ahead.
yeah, other infectious diseases that are definitely also popping up, but oncology continues to be the one of the
Number
main
one.
therapeutic areas.
Yeah, and rare diseases too is becoming very popular, that they're looking for that experience and that's really key. I don't think they're looking specifically, but someone who's worked in oncology or rare diseases have an understanding that the data isn't always there for what they're looking for. So they need people to understand how to get the right data for the business.
Mhm.
And a big one you're forgetting, metabolics, type 2 diabetes, obesity, right? I mean, I think that was our biggest, I'll call it a build out, right, for 2024 was a few of our clients building out those teams for new launches with obesity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's going to continue, I think.
But I think all the time, besides the subject matter expert, they're looking for people that are extremely polished, are extremely competent, and can sit at the table. Those are what my clients are looking for when they're looking to hire somebody out of their bring them into their organization. They need that
Yes.
level of confidence, and the professionalism is really, really key. But we can't forget about being hands-on with the data. They want someone who can really who has done statistics, who's done the data science work, so they have an understanding when talking to the vendors or talking to the individuals that support them how to do things. They're not relying on as much on consultants on the manufacturing side any longer.
Because that's a budget issue, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah,
What
that
are
drips
you
down
guys
to.
seeing? Because a lot of my roles are field sales, right? So they're remote. What are
Yeah.
you seeing for the internal roles, as far as how often they want folks coming into the office? Is it still 3 days or is it now more like 4?
2 to
It's
3.
about 3 days.
Yeah.
It's about 3 days.
Okay.
Haven't seen 4.
But they have to live locally. They can't like commute in. They have to live locally to where the company's located, where their office is located.
Right.
Definitely, a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
have
my
to be willing
jobs,
to relocate.
a lot of
What
my
does that
roles right
mean?
now are hybrid, certainly. So I think when you're fully remote, sometimes the company culture takes a hit because if someone's in leadership and working remote, it's harder to maintain that cohesive company culture when everyone's just logging in from different you know um, parts of the country. Is what I've seen. So.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It certainly takes an impact at the executive level too. And it's time consuming to be managing staff across the world, potentially.
We have quite a few companies that really like the internal collaboration. That's so important for them to be able to meet with the business, understand, because they work across the enterprise.
Yes.
And that's really important for them to develop those rapports with other parts of the company. The enterprise is very, very important. And that's some of the obstacles that the candidates are facing too, because now they have to realize if they want to move ahead or get a new position, they're going to have to be in the office. And that's the first thing I say when I speak with new candidates.
Most of the time. Do you feel as if, all three of you, I'd love an answer, do you feel as if candidates are more willing to relocate or less willing to relocate for new roles?
I think it really depends upon their family situation. Some people want to move on. They don't like where they live. They want warmer weather. They want to be close to family. It's all driven by family.
And all the major farmers are in the high cost of living cities. So sometimes there's some hesitation there where if you're in a lower cost and making that switch because all the major biotechs, none of them are in the lower cost of living parts of the country. So other than that, yes, sometimes it does come down to personal and family dynamics as well.
I think
I do
all
need,
being equal though, like a lot of companies, they're not going to want to relocate just because I think it gets a little bit stickier. And I'm just saying this as a recruiter. I don't find that, when I'm working the C-suite level roles or the marketing roles, there's so much talent that I think could be tapped into locally. And I think there's a lot of hurdles that can come with the relocation, including, family, housing, all of that, that I think, like I said, 9 times out of 10 companies are going to pick this person that's local.
Oh, I totally
Yeah,
agree with
which
you.
is
I
new
totally agree
too,
with you,
though, I
Nancy.
feel like. That used to be when we had our clients that would be moving people across the country or whatever. It used to be a non-issue. They would just throw money at it because they wanted that person there. But over the last year, it's certainly been a point of contention with having to consider new candidates, I think, right? And having to pay for that expense for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But historically, I don't feel like, I guess, but now being here for over 10 years, you think about, I think that the pharma and biotechnology companies used to be known for the amount of monetary investment they would put into their talent. And I think the trend is that they're getting a little bit away from that. Would you
And you've got
agree?
so many companies popping up. Like, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, like even in Florida, there's a lot of startup companies there. You've got Boston, Jersey. It's not just the hub that it was, right? And then you've
Right.
got the West Coast, Chicago. So there's a lot. And like I said, they can just tap into the talent locally. And I think that's what makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I know we touched on it earlier. Eda had brought up some specific skills. I'm curious from the other recruiters as well. Are there any particular skills that candidates should have or that our clients look for in candidates for leadership positions in this
Yeah,
space?
definitely the strong scientific acumen, and then just strategic project management capabilities. Definitely, having that understanding of the regulatory framework, familiar with the drug development process, clinical trials. I mean, those are definitely keys in the roles that I work on. Apart from the leadership, management, cross-functional team leadership, those skills.
Okay.
They
Anything else
all
from
have
yours?
to, it's back in the day, it really wasn't a requirement, but now it is. They really
Right.
need that person who's coming on board to be very strong in leadership and examples of what they've done in the past and who they've met with. Everyone knows one another in this industry. So that's the other hard thing, that they do a lot of background checks before we even,
Oh, yeah.
there's so many of those, I call them backdoor references. That goes on constantly when it gets to the leadership capabilities.
And I think too, like I was mentioning earlier, it's like for the leadership roles and all of the roles, cultural fit is just more and more important. And to Eda's point, it's like, making sure that they've got a solid reputation, which it's a very small industry. And so they can do these checks, prior to even going all the way down the road with somebody.
Okay, good. And I have an opposite comment of what you said before. You mentioned something about how your hiring managers don't find it as important. They think fit's more important. They don't think the therapy expertise is as important. I feel as if my hiring managers are not even looking at individuals that don't have the exact therapy experience that they need,
I think
especially at that leadership
true,
level.
Yeah. In your roles, yes, Lindsay, yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely need that, and the leadership and coaching. Like, there's no room for training in those areas at all, and that could be across, different verticals: primary research, analytics, competitive intelligence. Right? You need all of the above. And in a lot of cases, we're also learning at the more senior level, you've had to have done that role already in order to be considered for that new position. But the compensation isn't always there. So that was like a big issue for 2024 that, hopefully alleviates itself in the coming years when there's a little bit more money and a little bit more talent.
I don't know. I think that it's a trend that we're going to see. I think it's going to be a total trend that we're going to be seeing, that this is a cost factor that has come down from powers above, that we need people that have had that experience. So that's why they kind of like the cross between manufacturing candidates along with consulting, so they have both sides of experience going into those leadership roles.
But I think the hard truth is that we've always kind of struggled to, explain to candidates is that we really can't promote. If I've got a sales leader opening, I can't just give somebody a shot, even if they're the best candidate ever, right? We don't promote people into roles very rarely, unless it's like, oh, they're going from a manager to a senior manager level. But if I'm looking for a sales leader or a C-suite level or SVP, I can't just say, oh, well, this person's fantastic, so let's give them a shot. It unfortunately doesn't work like that. And I know Nihar, you see that too, right? With especially when we've done like MSL roles, everybody wants to be a people leader of MSLs that's currently an MSL, and it's like, that's unfortunately not a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to be doing the work before they can, be in that role. So certainly that's a prereq, no question.
Any other obstacles in attracting and retaining talent that we're finding? That we could, I guess that would be advice for our clients at that point.
I think sign-on bonuses, I would love to see that happening more across the board. And I get that, people are always going to have to leave something behind. But if they're a passive candidate that we're going after and we're going after them hard, we do have to really make them whole. And I think that can be hard to understand that, what is a passive candidate, right? A passive candidate is somebody that we are going after, and that's what our clients are paying us to do, right? To find the talent that is not the low-hanging fruit, right? And to find somebody that isn't running and, is running towards something. But with that said, there's a price to be paid. I hate to say it, but it's like, and that's where I think the sign-on bonuses companies have kind of gotten away from, but I'm trying to really sway my clients that it's necessary, right? Because then that's the point where you get all the way to the end and an offer will not get accepted because then the candidate's feeling like they're leaving too much behind.
Yeah,
And I'm
I mean,
seeing the
mine's
same.
dollar sign as well. And I don't know if it's specific to sign on. I mean, yeah, I would love to see more sign on bonuses too, I think. Just having the competitive compensation in general to be attractive to actually pull the appropriate person over, say, work here instead. I feel like that has been the biggest hurdle for sure.
And
I totally agree
especially
with you.
too, like you've got a lot of these startups that are offering crazy potential, right, for stocks. And then you have private companies that don't have stocks, right, because they're not publicly traded. And now it's like, ooh, what's their incentive, right? So I am seeing companies like that offering LTI, which stands for a long-term incentive, which is another retention tool. But I do think that that's where a lot of the competitiveness is coming as well, is sort of the extra incentives. It's not always money, right? It could be, obviously benefits, and all of that is also super important. And, I just hope that in
The
the
ability to
future.
work remotely would also be a
Mhm.
huge benefit, or more flexibility in that. You'll get better talent if you're open-minded to your person being remote, than making their family relocate.
Yeah, there's no question that opens up the talent pool. But
Yeah.
I think going back to your question, I think the ideal candidate, comp aside, it's going to be a mix of, the industry knowledge, interpersonal skills, and the transferable skill set. I mean, that's typically, what our clients are looking for.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, yeah, that's it. Anyone have anything to add? Otherwise,
I think this was a
that's
good
been it from the pharma
discussion,
group.
regrouping as to where we were and where we're going. It's exciting. January is always a good month to kind of feel what it's going to be like out there, and I feel pretty good.
I do too. I think there's a lot more consumer confidence happening this year, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Same.
Good.